Hello, 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 hello.
Good day, good morning, good night, good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome to the AdWit podcast.
Yes.
Lindsay, what does AdWit stand for? What is it?
AdWit stands for the Audio Drama Writers Independent Toolkit. We are here to give you the tools that you need to make the shows you want there to be in the world.
Oh, what a beautiful world. It needs your story. So if you're listening to this and feeling despondent, stop that right now. We're going to help you. So listen up.
Yes.
Listen, what is our focus of today, Lindsay? What are we doing? Why are we here?
We are going to talk about... I'm so tempted to say, so you have a script. Now what?
Yep.
But that's not very nice. That's, yay.
Developmental tools,
Yeah,
right?
we're going to be talking about table reads, feedback, writing is rewriting, drafts, so on and so forth. And right now is the point where you pat yourself on the back. But before you go any further with that script, we think you should have a table read, or I think you should have a table read. But both of us believe you should get some feedback and then rewrite. And we are going to show you how to host a table read, set expectations, and solicit feedback. We're going to talk about handling feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're going to talk about rewriting with feedback.
How exciting.
Yes.
I do love a table read. I have to say, it's one of my favourite things because there's no pressure as a voice actor, right? Mm-hmm. I love it. But also as a producer and as a writer, oh my, to hear your words said out loud. And then you go, oh, that's not working.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or, oh, that sounds quite good, actually.
Yeah. What I love is when if an actor stumbles over... Well, we can get to this stuff, but if you hear a performer stumble over a particular line that you've written more than twice, it's
two times credit.
Yeah, two times you can keep it. 3 times, I don't know. You got to rethink
She's not a lady.
It. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah.
groovy.
Yeah.
So now you know what we're at today. So come on, settle down, sit back, relax,
and enjoy.
Let our beautiful voices just massage you into the love and joys of the table read.
Yes.
So what do people want to do then at this table read? What are the general things? What does it even mean, Lindsay?
Well,
should we explore that first?
I think
just sit at a table and read.
There's 2 different ways in the 21st century that these can be done. One is to do it in person, in a room, with collaborators, so on and so forth.
Good snacks.
And there's also doing it over video conferencing software. And both have their good traits and bad traits.
Truly.
Yes.
Yes.
So one of the things I've seen a lot of is people who... they'll post on the Audio Drama Hub on Facebook, or they'll post on Discord in various audio fiction groups. They'll say, hey, I finished a script. The one that scares me is when people say, I finished a script. I'm going to send it to Realm, or I'm going to send it to Q Code, or something like that. And it's always like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. You finished a script. They're sort of like, I finished a script. Now what do I do? Or people who will say, I've finished a script, can anyone read it and give me feedback? Mm-hmm. And handing it off to one person who's willing to read it and give you feedback is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but your story is only interacting with one person. Yeah. Their opinions.
So many perspectives and opinions just from one person. But it's not enough, really, is it?
Yeah, really? It's really not enough. They're experiencing your story in the way that it was not meant to be experienced. It's meant to be heard, or it's meant to be experienced. And I mean, I want to make sure that I'm using inclusive language, and I understand that everybody experiences audio drama in different ways. And for some people that's through a transcript, but there's a reason that audio drama is written the way it is, and reading the script on its own is not the optimal way for the medium to be experienced.
And it should not just be inside your head. It should be out loud and able to, those vibrations hitting your ear stirrups with velocities and tensions and moments of excitement. Yeah, groovy. I truly agree.
Exactly.
But also, getting your actors together, or people who can hopefully act together to read it and give it some semblance of the vibes and the rhythms and the paces that it's going to have is really useful. So if you can get people who are actors together, brilliant. But if you can't, get people who can do a half decent job and do that anyway. Get it done anyway, because you'll get so much reward from listening to your words out loud.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to yes and you. I'm going to get your actors together and I'm going to raise you. What you really need are people who have great reading comprehension. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many actors are dyslexic. Or
quite a few, actually, I've met on my travels. Yes, bless them. And they are astounding actors. There's nothing that has stopped them and held them back. And although it is something really hard to get through, there are strategies and ways that these folks have learned to get through and stay amazing.
But you might not want them at your first table read.
Okay.
For their comfort and their privacy or whatever. Really what you want. I once had the experience of being at a staged reading at a place that was open to the public, and this girl, I'm sorry, I call her a girl because she was fairly young, but this woman really, really, really wanted to participate in the reading thing. And she really, in the reading series, this writing workshop that we had, and she really wanted to read. And her reading comprehension was so poor, and nobody knew how to tell her.
Sure.
You're slowing down the whole thing.
Yeah, that's difficult.
So really, it was very difficult. And a script that should have taken us like maybe 90 minutes with a break to read ended up just going on, and it was so painful. So I'm going to say some cold reading is an art.
It's hard.
And not everybody is good at it. And those people who are, buy them lunch, buy them snacks.
Bring the snacks, baby.
Do whatever you have to do. Treasure them and take care of them, because give them a good massage if they want it, only if they want it.
Oh, threaten to buy them a pint afterwards if they're any good. That might work.
Yes. Take good care of them, and these are the people. Sarah, you have way more experience with video conferencing readings than I do. I think I've had about maybe 3 total, and you are doing them all the time. You 21st century voice acting diva.
Bring it! I want more. Seriously.
So tell me what's your experience with those? Like, what's a standout? What's a watch out? Standouts and watch outs. I like that. Standouts and watch outs. We're going to keep that.
No more.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm going to talk about 2 things, because there's one where you have never seen the script before and it is a complete and utter cold read, and you've just been perhaps given a heads up on what character you might be playing and a little bit of information. So let's say a paragraph full, just to orient yourself as to the style of character you're playing, their age, their kind of attitudes, and anything important. And that, I absolutely love those table reads. I think with regards to just jumping in, that you're there to serve the script. You're there to help whoever's trying to develop this to make it, either that they understand it works or it doesn't work. So it's really important that you are, well watered, well refreshed, and psychologically ready for doing things off the hoof. And some things, when you speak, might not land well first time, but that's just going to be the lay of that land when you're reading a cold script. So and I love meeting new people. I think that's the other thing, right? It is a social potential, and you could meet other voice actors, other people, creatives, writers, who, if you do a good read, they'll go, oh, I really like that person in the read.
Yeah,
I'm going to invite them to audition, and and then you might get ahead of the queue as far as other things are concerned. So I've read some various things in that kind of manner, but it's also nerve-wracking because there is some pressure on some of the producers and writers and so on to get and rinse the table read for as much as they need, right?
What do you mean?
In as much as there's a time pressure, perhaps, you've got an hour to get A, B, and C done.
Yes.
And then there's D, E, F, all the way to Z, which is on the priority list of the production team, right? So, sometimes it can be quite cold, in as much as there are name by name and nature, in as much as there isn't enough time for like social stuff too. You're in there, You read the script and it's done and it's like, bye. So there's that, which I kind of like, but at the same time, I do like to try and form relationships of some kind in a friendly kind of way. So I find that kind of way harder. Whereas also, for example, if I've got a table read where I've been prepared, I know the script, I've read and I've marked up my script, right? I've been diligent, I've done some research, I might have already talked to the director, the producer or the writer or all of those people just to fathom, okay, where is this these beats important, what else do I need to be lifting from the script, what is attitude, what kind of paces and so on, and emotions wise, how far do you want me to go? So there's lots of questions you can ask the people involved.
Sarah, actually real quick, how much, in my opinion, I think that if you're asking somebody to read in your table read, staged reading, video conference read, whatever, I think you should give the people who you're asking to read the script at least 24 hours prior to the meeting.
Preferably.
What do you think?
Oh, truly agree. I mean, it's better to sit on it a week.
Time? Is that? Oh, yeah. Well, a week would be even better.
It would be lovely to sit on a week and then spend time with the script, as I say, so that you can really properly have a think. Because, we're very complicated, aren't we? The performers behind a mic, and I think some people will snap it every time and just be amazing every time. And some people, you get one read and then they do another one and it gets progressively better. Even though the first one was still very good, you will still perhaps rinse more out of them if you give them more time to play with the script and understand. That's the key thing, is really understanding what you're saying. And I have worked with people as a producer and director who just, I know they've not spent an ounce of time with that script. It's really obvious to me because there's no feeling, there's no meaning, there's no intention, there's no, warmth behind that character's vocal folds, right?
Exactly,
So it's about that. So I've loved that. So the style of table read where I've had a chance to really meatify my character, I've built it up, I've been able to also connect with the writer, as I say, the producer, director, and just understand the script from their perspective too, as well as mine, right?
Yeah.
And then you bring that information with all of us knowing, hopefully, as much as possible about our characters before we jump in. That is just the loveliest feeling as well, because it sits better. There's less pressure in a way, because also you're performing it, but you're not being critiqued as such. It's for the service of as I say, the production crew to fathom what works, what might need cutting, because they might have pressures on them to cut, pages, minutes, whatever episodes. So it's really about just showcasing the best you can from the material you've got. And oh gosh, there's nothing like it when it runs beautifully, because you know what's coming in the script sometimes, if you've spent time with it already, and when the actor just brings it, it's chef's kiss delicious, and you're just so appreciating the talent in the room, right? And that is another thing.
But also you have to be open to the fact that things are gonna fall, and it's not because of of the voice acting talent, it's not because of the environment, it's just
not working.
Geez, you wrote a tongue twister. Maybe this isn't the best thing you should have for this moment, kind of thing. There's, sometimes, you have things that you just need to go, whoops, look great on the page, but...
Truly. And I just want to throw in regards to, which is a conversation for another time in a bigger way, but also if you're writing for an accent and you've changed the script to kind of reflect that, sometimes that can be harder to read than just letting the actor who knows the accent to just do that themselves. So there's a lot of interesting information with how you write those things on the script too. But that's not for today.
No. I mean, actually, what I was going to say is this is also a good time to include a pronunciation guide.
Right.
Yeah. For example, like with Yarn Socks Arising, we needed to have everything. There were so many words. Like, you'd be surprised how many people don't know that Jotunheim is not pronounced Jotunheim.
Right.
It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there's also... Sarah, I know you and I have talked about this between ourselves, but there was one time when I was in school, we were doing a scene study class and we had a scene from Lysistrata, and I was supposed to be playing Lampito, who was the head of the Spartan women, and whoever had translated this version of Lysistrata decided that the Spartans were all Scottish.
Wow.
So they wrote everything in this English approximation of,
Brilliant.
like, it's, instead of writing two, they'd write TAE.
Right, get to...
Yeah, it was like nails on a chalkboard. It was so painful to read. It was like, this is what you think of the Scots,
Wow.
you know?
Okay.
They're human beings. They're not...
Interesting. You know. But we digress
I don't know.
gently. We're coming back.
But we digress.
We
digress.
The beautiful
yeah.
cutlery on it.
Here's another thing, is that one of the pros of the table read or the video conferencing read is you get to see and hear the audience reactions, and you get a sense in real time of what works and what doesn't. But I also know that if you have enough people in your video conference, and this is not to diss Zoom or Ring or Blue Jeans or whatever software you're using. This is not a diss on any software, but sometimes if your participants are all over the world, as this happens many times with us, and you have enough people on the call, you're going to have more lag if everybody has their cameras on.
Potentially.
I would have to check with somebody from Zoom about that as to whether or not it's true, but it just seems like it's been better.
Thing. Yeah, no, there's a lot of variables, isn't there? It's also personal, individual internet speeds and gazillion other things, right? Software that's being used. But
you have to be very patient with it.
Yeah, that can be frustrating. I have hit that once or twice with my own, and it's actually, as the actor in that and having that happen, it's really awful because you give the line and then there's nobody replying for like 3 seconds. You're thinking, oh no, did they hear me? And then they give the line, and then you've said the line, but they didn't hear you. So it's like, it's not particularly lovely. So there are things to iron out with the online virtual kind of world still. And, you know, there's quite a few different Riverside Squadcast. I mean, there's lots of things available. Aloud.
Yeah.
Have a look at Aloud, folks. Yeah,
yes.
There's a lot going on. And I think, finding what works for you. I am a big fan of Clean Feed myself, because that is just the audio. You don't have video, so you can record in your pajamas. Top tip, it's more fun. And I think there's a lot to be said for just that connectivity, which is amazing, isn't it? And I think with regards to other places like Discord as well, I've done various things through Discord.
Yeah, they have a voice option there too.
Yeah, and that's nice and easy once you get set up. I think sometimes it decides to not recognise your microphone and things like that. Not just me has had that problem in the past, but a few others. So it's just a few techie issues to iron out. But once you're in, right? And that's the exciting thing. And I think as well with the cons of it, what other things would you suggest are issues?
The work of scheduling and hosting can make people say, I'm never doing this again. Right,
getting the cats in the room on time.
Getting all of your time, your time zones
I hate
worked
time
out.
zones so much.
Yeah, I know. And unfortunately, it's just part of life. You have to deal with it. The time zones you need to use. I'm a big fan of the in-person reading because it's social and it gets you straight out in the air. And unfortunately, depending on the script, if I have a choice between doing a video conference read or an in-person read, I'm going to say it depends on the script and what you need. Because, just as an example, if I'd rather not deal with the hassle of lag and scheduling with time zones, I'll get non-actors with great reading comprehension skills together and say, okay, we'll order some pizzas, we'll hang out, and we'll read this. But if it's the kind of thing where I've lived with this script for a long time and it's like, well, you know, I'd really like to hear how Kareem reads this role. Or I'd really like to hear how Sarah reads this role. Or I absolutely have to have one of the Scots for this. Let's see what Matthew and Robert are doing. And then when Matthew says no, I'll get Robert to do it. that kind of thing. Yeah. So you always give Matthew right of first refusal because he's really good with scripts.
He's awesome.
But
it's just
anyway.
not in enough stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to throw in as well with regards to the time zone. So when I was doing 1994 podcast,
Yes.
I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning because that was what was working with people from Israel and Brazil and various different American time zones, right? That was the only time.
Yeah.
So there might be people willing to do that from countries either end, yeah? So I know, for example, at the minute we're trying to sort something out which will be good for the Australian folks as well, and that with America is like, okay, this is hard. I don't know if we're going to make it, mate, but we'll ever go.
Yeah.
So, I think so it can be really hard, but it's worth persevering with for those actors if you're able to. And I just want to throw in as well, like, it'd be great if you can pay your people for their time. But if you can't, at least, the very least you can do is to give them some airtime with your own social media, ping out links to their works, tell people how brilliant they were in that table read, which is extra work for you. But it's just...
But you're also asking them to spend time away from their families on a Sunday afternoon, or you're asking them to get up super duper early, or you're asking them to, put off a potential paying freelance gig to do your reading.
Right? There's all sorts going on with these.
I do know that when I was, so this would have been 2004 when I had this conversation with a professional casting director, and I said, how much should you pay actors for a reading? And he said, you don't. But from his perspective, this was the casting director of a professional regional theater, and the staged readings that they did were invited things where people would see them and be like, oh, I love that actor. When I find out he's in blah, 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 I'll go see him,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but people can die from exposure, so.
The big E word. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but what do you, Sarah, if you were going to, ballpark it, how much do you think you should spend per actor if you're going to pay
that's
them?
A massive question, really. I think initially, if you're doing it, depends on your budget, is the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think in an ideal world, it would be groovy to have at least £20 an hour in the indie world, at least. And that's a starting point. If you can get that, I think that's great as an at least, right? So, anything from there.
Yeah.
But £150 would be nice. No,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think, it depends. It depends on so many variables. But if you can pay your actors, I think that would be super amazing. And, we are talking to indie people. We're talking to people we know. We're
because
indie.
we are you. The American, the American what, Lindsay? Because we are the audio drama writers independent.
We are indie, right? So we understand your struggle
to be independent.
Because we do it too.
Yes.
I've done table reads. I haven't paid my actors, and I've done the best I could to ping out about them. So I think there's a lot to be said for time. I just want to throw in as well, let's just moot then a scenario. So I have my script. So if I do mine, and if you have a different one, feel free to do yours. But yes, I have my script.
Yes.
I want my actors. So I'm going to put out an email to people who I love and know and think would be groovy. I would put a thing out on the Audio Drama Hub Facebook group. I would ping out on my Blue Sky, my X, and my
whatever your
Facebook,
social media
Slack,
things
so
are.
On. And then I would, from that interest, I would send them to my email so that they would tell me to my email if they want to play. And then from there, I collate that information. I send those people a doodle poll saying, these are the so many dates I can do and the times. Or I would give them 2 times only. Depends on lots of things. So either a range of dates over a couple of weeks or 2 dates only. And then from there, I would cast and sort out who was doing what. I would send out the script. I would ping people information on the characters that I had them in mind for. So there's so many and-ors. People I didn't know.
There's so many if-thens.
If I didn't know the people and they'd expressed an interest, I would send them out a character list and ask them what their preferences would be, and if they have any experience in those characters, where could I look to see about their prowess. And then basically just start the table read and go on from there. And having known when I'm going to meet, ping out the link. I would probably do it over Zoom, being honest, at this juncture, or clean feed, depending on how I was feeling. And and I'd also write a list of what I want out of it. So I would be able to say that at the beginning.
Yes.
So this table read, I really like to cut some of it. I need to edit it down by 10 pages. So today I'm looking for areas, and so I would love your feedback as you're listening, as you're hearing. If there's any things that you think that just aren't working, aren't necessary, things that perhaps maybe need pick up of pace for the flow of the writing and so on. So so I'd have a list of things that I wanted to achieve in that, and we would make time in that table read to have time to have that discussion too, rather than people just saying, yeah, it's really good. Crickets.
Yeah, exactly.
So, or like, no, don't release this. Don't release this. It's awful.
Or they say, I liked it. And what do I do with that? But we'll get to feedback in a minute. Yeah, I think if you have a good relationship with some voice actors and you know they're interested in reading your work, even when it's at this really embryonic stage, go for it. But obviously, if you can't get Corinne Cronfley or, Beth Eyre is super nice, but probably very busy. If you can't get the people you had in mind, get the people that you didn't have in mind, because it will show you more about your script than what you had in mind originally.
And also your buddies, right? There's nothing wrong at all with getting buddies who are great performers and good with reading and being honest to you. Maybe that is also a definite option you can explore if the others aren't available to you.
I don't think you should let anything slow you down, especially when you're having your first read of a script.
Virgin read.
And you've never had a script read before. That can be really terrifying. And it does feel like your first time bungee jumping, but don't let scheduling or whatever get in the way. Just set a date and do it so that you can move forward with this script. Yeah. I've seen people say things like, oh, well, I'll run it through the script and have the AI read it.
What? Why would you do that?
Just don't. Well, yeah, and there was also a thing, I think Final Draft had a feature where you could have it, you basically, like you had a choice of 4 voices, and they all sounded like a speak and spell. They all sounded like, you do this better than I did that. Greetings, Professor Falcon. That voice.
Swear words are not acceptable.
That voice. I can't remember how you do it.
Doors.
But,
yeah.
Open the pod bay doors.
But yeah, they don't do that, because that's not going to really show you very much about your script. I think the other thing that I think is a terrible idea, and sometimes when you just put things up publicly, like, hey, everybody of social media and the internet land, here is my live reading. Please come participate.
That's dangerous. They'll swoop down on in there and show you their Star Wars porn.
Yep. The Star Wars porn. That a day that will live in infamy was the day that Sarah and I were sitting here in a meeting with intelligent, thoughtful adults, and then some jerk decided to hack screen sharing and start showing his Star Wars porn.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, that's why I have the bolster of them sending to my email so I can collate emails, and hopefully that extra step will put up lots of people. It might not put up everyone, but, those... Yeah, you just want it to flow. Yeah. And can I just throw in too, that don't just run it yourself.
Yes.
You can help it, because you'll have a lot to think about. So do find somebody who you know and love to trust, just to help you organise the room.
Get a facilitator.
To ferry the questions if there are any thrown into chat. To just make sure you're okay.
Yes.
and perhaps they're in the room with you, or they're on the virtual call as well, and just as a solidarity sister.
Yes.
a sort of place to go if you suddenly find yourself a little overwhelmed by any questions or moments.
Yeah, I mean, have them facilitate, have them do the talking, have them introduce everybody, and have them give them all hosting permissions so that if they have to kick somebody out, they can. Or if they have to admit someone who's running a bit late. You know, you want them to have all the hosting permissions so they can take care of business. Sarah, about timing. What's your formula for how long it should last, do you think?
6. No, I think the key thing with regards to timing is to just think, actually, if you've got a 6-episode season of things, you're obviously not going to table read every single one of those.
Right.
And, in one sitting, you either need to decide, okay, so this table isn't just going to be one thing and like everything's done. It's going to be over a series of times so that there's time to digest and you're not going to tire yourself, your head and your actors too. So, I think there's so many variables. So if you've got a longer script and you do want to hear everything, then by all means do that, but do that over a period of weeks. So it's going to last a little bit longer, or over a period of days, depending on the commitments and so on. But if you think, I just want to hear certain slices or perhaps things that I need to hone that aren't working, then you could also do that. So, I think timing wise, there's the general rule, isn't there, with 1.5 times the pages is the amount of time it takes. Yeah. So every page is about 1.5 minutes. Generally ish, depending on many things, but that's generally an ish. So maybe have a look at that yourself. Read your page, read a few pages in your head with a timer on. Just check, okay, how long is this taking? Because there might be copious amount of sound design things in there. There might be, other things that actors are doing that will take up the time that's not spoken. Have a little play. And I think people do get tired. I get tired too. So,
well, especially your voice.
And if you're doing demanding scripts and actors, like, if you've got a bunch of pirates running around the place, they're all doing like that, then that's going to hurt their voice after a while. So you've got to play with them. Just making sure there's plenty of water breaks. You're reminding everyone to hydrate. And that's also that there is time for proper toilet breaks, getting more water. And also just head away from a screen, right? Because if you're doing things online, you're probably looking at a screen. Yes. You might have your paper readers. There's a lot of people who still will not let go of the paper scripts.
Yes.
I love writing on paper scripts. Yes, they are good. Yes. But the fact that I think when we were doing the Amelia project, me and Fiona in the studio a good few years ago, and I had the paper and I didn't know where to put it. I hadn't had a lot of practice of doing that in a live situation. I'd normally done it myself at home. So yes, things like that, just those paper rustles if you're going to be recording things as well. I just found the hassle factor too much. So I am an iPad bint. I love the iPad. I'm an iPad bint. I'm an IPB.
I'm an iPad bint. That's going on the next ad with T-shirt. I'm an iPad bint.
Because you can annotate to your heart's content. I just scroll all over it, different colours, different pens. I can rub it out if I want to. I have complete freedom to doodle pictures of the actors in the margins. So I have lots of fun with it. So I think that's the other thing, is deciding how you're going to distribute the script in this time thing. Is everybody going to have to read your own scrolling from a screen? I've had that happen before. That was dictated for us a time away, which, it kind of works, but I don't know. There's an art to reading a script, and sometimes you're sort of reading a bit ahead to prepare yourself for the next emotion you might need, or perhaps there's a build to something that your character needs to be doing something angsty that needs to sound in your voice before you get there. Things like that.
Who was that lovely? Oh gosh, Emily from
Emily Inkpen.
We were just
Emily Inkpen.
Yes, Emily Inkpen. Emily Inkpen.
Oh, we've got a theme tune.
Emily Inkpen. There we go. So
glorious.
That was fun. I think she said, I always work in Google Docs because it's easier to share. And yes, excellent point. You need to be able to say to people, okay, just refresh your screen because Lindsay just made a change. or whatever. So you need the most shareable version of your script when you're coming into that stage or whatever, your stage, table, virtual, whatever reading.
Truly.
So yes.
So timing wise, I think if you go over 2 hours for something, that's kind of getting into tough time there.
I think you're evil. I don't think you should make people participate for more than 2 hours.
An hour and a half is probably groovy, right? Because then you've got perhaps, 3 to 4 episodes of something. You've given it a good bash and also time for feedback. Which I think is key.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, will you?
Speaking of feedback,
will you tell us how you solicit?
Yeah.
Solicit.
So my friend Carolyn West, who is a playwright and a novelist, I'm paraphrasing because she said this in my presence a bunch of times, but I can't remember the exact wording. With the first draft, a writer just needs praise and encouragement to keep going. You're just saying to them, you know what? The story's worth it. You're worth it. Yeah. Keep going. Because at that point, you're going to hear the problems with the script are going to stick out enough that you're fully aware of what's wrong. And what you need at that point is going to be, good job.
Yeah.
You did it. You finished it. Now keep going.
Yeah.
I actually had someone say to me, well, you put it in a drawer and you write the next thing. And I was like, you want me to what?
What?
I was like, thank you so much for all of your confidence in me. Yeah.
With this drawer of light so it can't have anything in it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone now, go and take that drawer that things go in and give it to charity. Give it to somebody who might need a drawer for other things other than scripts to pile up in.
I do admit your trunk scripts are good to use because someday there's going to come a day that somebody's going to say to you like, hey, we need a 20-minute horror thing. What have you got? And you're like, oh, I got this. So, yeah.
Oh, maybe okay. Okay, don't get rid of the drawer then, I suppose.
I don't know. Sometimes you need to just stuff that stuff somewhere. You got to have your extras. But, yeah, with the second draft, you need to know what's confusing, what's memorable, what stands out the most. Yeah. This is where you probably have questions about specific moments or elements. And in my opinion, after, your second or third draft, you're either gilding the lily or you're plumping the pillows in the coffin. Right. Like whether you plan to self-produce it or somebody plans to produce it or whatever, after your third draft, I think or after your third reading, you're kind of going, it's like it's time to quit goofing around and either move on to a new script.
Get it done.
Or, start thinking about your crowdfunding campaign. Speaking of crowdfunding campaigns, you may want to have a live reading of a finished script. Nothing is ever finished. That's just me.
That's good voice.
A finished script for a fundraiser or to gauge interest before investing more effort, time, money, etc. into the story. That's a different thing.
Truly.
That's not really what we're talking about here. When people say to you, like Sarah and I were just saying earlier, like, Sarah, give me some examples of some great meaningless feedback.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. Great job.
I really liked it.
The
characters were nice.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, it was, somebody said to me once, and this was like a guy probably in his 60s with a long career. And he just goes, I hated it. I hated it. And I was like, wow, because hate is a strong word, sir.
Big word
for
a gentleman to say to a lady like you.
Exactly. Exactly. I had to flap my fan at him.
Good Lord. Terrible. Did anyone swoon?
I swooned. Actually, you know what it was? I looked at him and I'm like, I'm going to make you regret. I was like, I actually, to be honest, I looked at him and I was like, and you are not my audience niche. It wasn't, I was like, okay, this play is not for you. I will remember not to write fun things with strong female leads for you.
Yeah.
So the reason that these things are inadequate methods of feedback is because they don't give you an idea of what to do.
Can I give you some evidence of some feedback I got that was really
please.
good? So I've written a script called The Milkman and the Postie.
Yes.
It's basically a vehicle for me and Kareem to work together.
I love it.
Working with him and we have the best fun. Essentially, it's about a milkman and a postie they've been in the same kind of street doing the same rounds and only finally...
Wait, for the Americans... What's a postie?
A postie is a person who goes to deliver letters to your door.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And a milkman is not really around anymore, but back in the day, they used to deliver milk to your doorstep too.
I remember having milk delivered in the morning.
Milk and
I loved
yogurts, and the birds would peck the silver foil at the top. So essentially, yes. So basically, the premise is it's a romantic story where they finally their rounds start to connect, and they start to connect. And I thought it was just nice, fun, little light-hearted, fun, romantic thing. So here, first thing I got. This is from the wonderful Sivan Raz, who basically is a wonderful voice actor, but also works as a director as well on various projects. And maybe we can pop a link to Sivan on our show notes so you can employ her. So it says, I think at the very beginning, the type of the relationship between the two is a bit unclear. Are they rivals, old friends, strangers? Something with the conversation about the old woman doesn't really clarify the relationship fast enough. And I felt confused for a while there until they actually said it was their first ever conversation. I think even a simple, so the old lady as well kind of line would have solved this confusion for me. So they're giving just ways in to think, okay, so I need to make that bit clearer. For another section, she said, I don't think any more stakes are needed. For a short piece, this is absolutely perfect. I love reading and listening to things and just feeling happy and warm and fuzzy. Just like this is perfect. So that was really like, oh, good, yes. I'm creating something warm and fuzzy.
Yes.
Which was one of the intentions behind creating.
Yes.
So, yeah, there are some things in translation.
I remember when I read it, I thought, how wonderful is this that they're both trying to solve a problem?
Yes, she did say that, yes.
Over the course of it, they were both trying to solve a problem because there was something that I read that, like, Jane Austen said once that, like, the best way for people to fall in love is through solving a problem together or working together to solve a problem.
Groovy.
And yeah, but let me give you an example of actionable feedback that's negative. Would be something like, oh gosh. See, the problem is every single time you get negative feedback, you tend to sort of like let it go. You either act on it or you let it go. Okay, here's a good one. Somebody said to me once, I see that you're writing this with a specific actor in mind. That's great. But don't try to get that actor because if they're busy, it eliminates the possibilities that this script could have with a different actor. So in any case, I am a big fan of something called the Liz Lerman critical response process. But what I want to talk about first is sometimes you have to consider the source with the feedback that you get.
Right.
Like, just as an example, I think I've told this story before. I can't remember. I once had a reading of a scene from a play that I wrote that took place in a Jewish cemetery in the summer of 1967. And after the reading was over, a guy came up to me and told me just absolutely vehemently, how dare you have a scene with a Jewish character in July of 1967 and not mention the 6-day Israeli war. And I was like, what?
Okay.
They didn't go over this in American history when I was in high school.
Okay.
So that was kind of fun. But the thing is that over time I was like, oh God, I got to get the Israeli war in here. And then I was like, do I really?
Okay.
And after a while I was like, no, I don't. That's his agenda. That's his priority.
Yeah.
That's,
one opinion
Israeli
in a sea of others.
Of many opinions. Yeah. Exactly. That was his thing. I've heard people say, this would be a great podcast if it wasn't done by somebody with a Scottish accent or something horrible like that. And I'm just like,
someone said that about the Scottish podcast because that would be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. They just say things like, I can't this guy's great, but I can't understand a word he's saying. And it's like, oh, gee, which one of us has the problem? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah, I think that is it, not to take things to heart too. And I guess, is that what Liz Lerman talks about?
She talks about feedback not being personal.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with the person. It has to do with the work.
It's nothing you've done.
So, it's, I also find that sometimes in Q&A sessions, there are people who are there really just to hear themselves talk. Like they really just want to prove what a great artist they are.
Raise your hand
by
if you've
showing
seen those
up at
people.
your reading.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you hear those
boy.
arms getting an airing there?
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the Liz Lerman critical response process. This is my favorite method of soliciting or getting feedback. We will pop a link in the show notes to the official website.
Groupie.
There are 3 roles: the facilitator, the artist, and the respondent.
Yes.
The facilitator runs the feedback session, makes sure everybody who raises their hand gets called on, and that the artist has adequate opportunity to ask questions, have them answered, and take notes. They may be needed to break up fights or ensure that the audience stays out of value-based statement territory or out of statements that are like, even you are such a good writer and this play really shows it, is like, it's not important right now. As they say on the website, the Liz Lerman critical response process, the facilitator initiates each step, keeps the process on track, and works to help the artist and responders use the process to frame useful questions and responses.
Beautifully put.
Yes, and that's like Sarah. Like Sarah and I said earlier, you need somebody who's like they're on your side. They have hosting permissions.
They're almost like viewing it as well. You know, they can sit back from being in the passion, the desires, and the needs of the piece. They are able to like help you to achieve all those things. Yeah, groovy.
Yeah, they've got one eye on the clock. They know what's going on, so on and so
forth. Got the good snacks. All good.
Yes. The artist or maker is the person who, the writer in our case, I don't think they should facilitate because it's hard to take notes while facilitating. They, or if, in case responders get weird, this is the person who offers a work in progress for review and feels prepared to question that work in a dialogue with other people. So they make a good point, is that sometimes you're not ready to have your work questioned yet.
Surely. It's a bit raw and still.
Yeah. And I've met people who, one woman said, we were all sitting here basically saying, this was confusing. And she said, well, you're obviously not the audience that I want to work with. And it was sort of like, oh, thanks, lady. So yeah.
It can be hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And the respondents are the audience and the participants in your reading.
Hooray.
They engage in dialogue with the artist with a commitment to the artist's intent to make excellent work.
Always. Just want to give your best so that this person can make the best thing. Yeah. And yeah.
So what they're going to do, the steps of feedback are the facilitator is going to ask for statements of meaning. So they ask the respondents what's most meaningful or memorable about the work. And this is a time for statements. It's not a time for questions. That's hard because your brain will naturally go to question land.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I thought the scene on the swing set was really important to me, you're going to start saying, I wondered why this was set on a swing set.
So I've got some here. I really love the humour and the character personalities. It's captivating to read. I think it comes through very well in the dialogue, which is actually what makes you want them to spend more time talking about each subject. So
yes, that is a great statement of meaning.
Reading
that is perfect.
Talk. Yeah, good.
Yes. The next step is the artist as questioner step. The facilitator asks the artist to ask the respondents questions about specific elements of the work. Now, this isn't, what did you think? Or did you like it? Or was it funny?
Make me feel happy about my work. It's not that, is it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not that. It's, how did you feel about the overlapping, how did you feel about the swing set?
Yeah.
Or, or how did you feel about the overlapping dialogue in scene 7?
Yeah.
Or something about those lines. Yeah. It's,
so delving that bit deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there's neutral questions. And also, if you don't have any questions, that's okay. Because, or if you can't think of what to ask.
Yeah.
that's okay, because you can skip that and go on to this section, which is neutral questions.
Cool.
At this point, the respondents can ask the artist questions about the work. These questions don't have opinion or value in them. For example, instead of saying, why did you write another spaceship audio drama when there are already 7 million spaceship audio dramas?
There's room for more, man.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
Come on, Space Pirates is going to happen some point. I'm sorry, it's going to happen.
Everything.
Don't care.
Space Pirates has probably already happened. We just don't know about it. That's our fault.
Some universe somewhere.
Some universe somewhere. Yeah, the better way to say that is, what made you choose to set this story in outer space as opposed to a Renaissance fair or a monkey breeding lab or whatever? Okay, but I mean, like, my question about Romeo and Juliet was always, why didn't Romeo and Juliet just run away together?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a reasonable question. As opposed to saying, you made these characters really dumb.
But they're only 14, you know, I mean.
Yeah, or why did you make these characters so dumb?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, the purpose of this section is not for the artist to answer for their sins or explain the script. Yeah. It's for them to be aware of what elements are confusing or distracting and what elements take the audience out of the experience. And you do not have to answer those questions.
Yeah, just maybe let them soak in so they fuel your script for the next brilliant draft, right?
Write them down, sure. Yeah, but, you know, yeah. And then here's the tricky part, which often this can be left out. Respondents can say, this is the opinion section. Opinions. So your respondents can say, I have an opinion about a particular element of the story. Would you like to hear it? And the artist can choose to hear that opinion or not.
You know, send it to my email and I might open it. Put the title of this and maybe I'll have a look at some point when I'm ready.
Yeah. I think a good idea is to have a Google form available.
I do love a Google form, Lindsay.
With a short link so you can ask questions and let them tell you whatever, so then you don't have to read it if you don't want to.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't take feedback, but sometimes feedback is weird.
Oh, how do you handle it, Lindsay? Just go and go, oh, my work is rubbish and nobody likes it and I'm not going to write anymore ever again. Is that what happened?
Do not ever let that happen to you. What I do, honestly, what I've done sometimes is I've sat there nodding, smiling, and writing in my notebook, like, so-and-so doesn't get it.
Okay.
Or, you know, you just doodle a little bit. Looks like you're writing. It's great, you know. Or you can put down, like, so-and-so gets it. So-and-so doesn't get it. So-and-so asked blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
You know, or they said that their opinion was XYZ.
Yes.
You know, you can just write them down.
You've just drawn a big knob on your page, haven't you? That's what you've really done.
A great big doorknob. Right,
yes,
Sarah?
That's what I meant. Of course.
Yes. So when people tell you that they like it or it's good, say thank you, but that doesn't give you anything to take action with. Yeah, and, you know, anything that has a value judgment or has to do with you, the person, or them, the person, just ignore it. There's a difference between saying, like, scene 6 felt long or I got bored during scene 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions I always ask is, was there any moment where you got distracted or started thinking about something else other than what was happening in the story? That's one of the questions I always ask. That way I can avoid hearing people say, I got bored. Rewriting with feedback is what you're going to do. Actually, after your reading, I highly recommend that you take a break because you are going to feel like you just donated at least 1 pint of blood.
Truly. I think it is exhausting, actually, a table read. Yes. Because you've given so much to that moment and you're on tenterhooks, you're not quite sure what's going to happen next. As from the writer perspective, yes, you're like, you're listening and you're so many emotions within seconds, I think. When an actor is killing it and the words are working, you're going, oh, this is working, and you're really excited. And then maybe when you hear another bit, you think, oh, no, that's jarring, that's not moving the plot. And you get cross with yourself. Like, why is this even in here? Why have I left it in? And you kind of have this, well, I do, this inner dialogue that's going on. So it's very exhausting. So yes, a break is very key.
An emotional roller coaster. You just need to, you know, Sure, go out for a pint with your friends afterwards. Celebrate your win.
Yes.
Celebrate.
Yes.
No matter how bad it is.
Man.
What if it goes badly? Okay, listen, you prepare yourself for the possibility that it may go badly, but celebrate the fact that you put it out there. That's a big deal.
Oh man, we need a hashtag for that.
Yeah.
Hashtag celebrate the win. And whenever you send that to us, we'll know from this moment on, people who are listening, if you tag us in hashtag celebrate the win, we'll know that you've finished a table read and you have survived and you have perfected the art of your writing process. Yeah. Or at least learnt a few things along the way.
I'm making a t-shirt that says, I survived a table read of my script. Yes. And all I got was this stupid t-shirt.
Do it. We've got a lot of we need to start a merch store, Lindsay.
Yes. Yes, we do. Oh, we do actually have by the time people hear this, we'll have a merch store. But no, we do have a merch store and I will link to it. Yeah, but what you want to copy down your notes and eliminate the unhelpful stuff. Yeah. Reread your feedback, reread your script with that feedback in mind, and then take a break.
Put them in that
for
drawer
a few days
that you're nearly sent to charity.
Just
put them
actually.
Away for
you know
a
what?
Bit.
Sometimes you may find typos that you didn't know you had.
God, yeah.
My favorite one ever. This script went all the way to the rehearsal stage, and then in the first day of rehearsal, somebody had said something about Goebbels. The Nazi, and his name is spelled Goebbels, but autocorrect stepped in and changed it to gerbils.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a typo you want to fix.
I don't know. Kind of sweet.
Maybe you should leave it. I don't know. No. I mean, on the other hand, that's how it's pronounced, but okay. Take a break for a few days, then reread your script in the notes, and then, in my opinion...
Oh, are you ready? Brace yourselves.
And I recently learned this is also Taika Waititi's process. And he gets paid a lot more than I do.
Here's the flag.
You reread it, you set it aside, and then you rewrite it from memory. The good stuff will rise to the top, and the bad stuff will just slide down the drain.
I've had to do that once or twice for various reasons. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I like doing that, but also it's like annoying. Because you go, I've written this already, and you think maybe it was better before, but actually, it's a really interesting process to do. So if you haven't tried that already, jump in, get that rewrite kicking in now and see what you learn about the stuff your brain really wants to keep, your beautiful, nurtured, wonderful brain, creative legends you. Amazing.
Now, that being said, I was, for various reasons, I was talking about this process with a therapist who specializes in ADHD. Not that I know anybody with ADHD.
Well, mate, it's a few,
and she said, if you do that, you're setting yourself up because you're only going to remember a fraction of, your memory's not, or she said a person who has ADHD doesn't have a strong enough memory to do that. And I said, please stop. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. Yep. But your mileage may vary.
Yeah, indeed.
Your mileage may vary.
So, yes, you can cross-pollinate. Fine.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Do whatever you want to do. Oh, the other thing, too, that I also think about rewrites, when you rename your files or when you name your files, I always keep an extra backup copy. But instead of saying draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, put a date on it instead.
That's so helpful.
So that you don't feel like, oh my God, I've rewritten 47 drafts. Just put a date on it, because that way you're not sitting here going final.PDF or whatever it is.
Oh, I love
final, no, really final this time.
No, this one is it. Definitely positively this one.
But if you put a date on it, then whatever you're using to archive your drafts has an easier time putting it in order.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think, Sarah?
What do I think about everything in the world, or table read in general?
What did we miss?
Well, we missed the joy. The whole point of it is for also your development of joy about your work, and to celebrate you finished something that people can read And that is immense. That is fireworks forever. That is, you are amazing. You've done something with your brain and your thinking and your body and your life, and that's great. So feel proud of yourself, people. Celebrate the win.
Enjoy your dopamine buzz, you know?
Mate, this pursuit of that is that's just life, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And a good friend to share the output of your work with. But I think that's the thing.
That is true.
Celebrate the brilliance that you finished it, because I don't know about you, but I've probably got 555 unfinished projects at the moment.
And there's a lot to be said. Actually, here's a whole seeing things through to completion.
Okay.
Again, I don't remember if I told this story or not. Once upon a time, when I was in grad school, I was at a point where I had this script. I had a deadline. I had to do a rewrite by the next day, by the next morning, because I wasn't going to have time to work on it anymore. And it was really like, do it now or don't do it at all. And I really did not want to go into class saying, I just didn't do it. But I hated this play at this point. I just hated it. I loathed it. And I thought, you are not going to class tomorrow with nothing. You will find a way to make the script better. And finally, what I did was I fixated on a character who was not the main character and rewrote the scene from her point of view as if she were the main character.
Amazing.
It was the best. It was like,
focus,
you might as well have handed me a bowl of ice cream. It was like as if I were a junky, tired out old beater car and somebody suddenly loaded up my gas tank with premium. Yes, it was, and it made me see the whole play in a completely different way, and it gave me this new burst of energy. So it's like, and getting all the way through to the end and being able to say, I'm done. I've never done a damn thing with that script. You know why? Because it wasn't very good. But, you're not going to have a hit all the time. And that, seeing things through to completion is something that feels great. And when you lose enthusiasm for a project, that's a killer.
Yeah.
So you got to find some way to turn it around and write it from a different angle.
I love
that is a good thing.
Well, this is it. Perspectives and points of view. Well, we'd love to hear your points of view. Please send them
would love to hear your
writersadwit@gmail.com if you found today useful, if you want to tell us anything about your table read, if there's things we missed and you think, well, why didn't you talk about this? You crazy loons. We'd love to hear from you. So writersadwit@gmail.com.
Yes.
And do ping into our Discord. We'd love to see you and to talk about the episodes as we release them.
Find a link in the show notes.
Just have a chat about writing and that, innit? It's good fun. We love it.
Yes. It's
so
very
happy
good fun.
writing.
Sarah and I do it all the
We're
time.
doing it now.
Happy writing.
My brain is thinking about the script I've been writing whilst I'm talking to you. And there's so much percolation that's going on all over the place. No mess.
So much percolation.
Everyone should say that word now after 3. 1, 2, 3.
Percolation. Percolation or percolation? Percolation.
Percolation.
I don't know. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you. We will speak to you again soon. And we look forward to hearing from you. And happy writing. Happy writing. Okay, go get them, tigers. Avanti. Okay, bye. Bye.
$66.30 Productions.
If you enjoy audio drama and fiction podcasts, sign up for the Fiction Podcast Weekly. It's an email newsletter with the latest news, events, creative opportunities, job listings, behind-the-scenes production resources, podcast milestones, debuts, and finales. Plus, it's free. Sign up now at thepodcasthost.com/fictionpodcastweekly.